Welcome back to Fast Market, everyone. Kevin Hinks and Alex Coffey back. Now it's time for our Cash Tag segment. I'd like to bring in the Vice President of Research at Likefolio.com, Miss Megan Brantley, to the show, who's going to regale us on a Friday about AI. You know, next week's going to be a big week, right? In discussions about AI, in all things AI, we have to go to Likefolio for the data. Megan, what do you got for us?
So AI is probably the fastest growing trend that we're watching this year. I think this isn't necessarily a surprise. This was a trend that we were watching last year, and we continue to see it capture consumer interest. I know one chart that we passed along today, this really caught our eye in terms of the number of companies in the S&P 500 who are talking about AI on earnings calls, and that number I think is at 41%. But honestly, when I saw this, that seemed really low to me over all of the AI hype that we talk about and we hear. So we think there is still a tremendous tailwind, and we think that AI is still in its infancy. We think companies are still figuring out how to leverage this technology appropriately and effectively. And so we see continued tailwinds here for a lot of the names in its space. And I know that NVIDIA, this is the name that everybody loves to talk about. This is obviously the big dog in this fight, but we don't see this as a winner-takes-all type of a scenario. We see this as a rising tide lifting a lot of boats. And so this is, kind of how we approach AI right now.
Megan, I know that your guys' kind of wheelhouse and like where you feel the most comfortable in assessing these things is consumer-facing products. See people talking about things. What do they have to say? Do they like it? Are they saying they're going to buy it, etc.? AI seems to be a difficult one to put your thumb on just because so much of the efficiencies and the potential gains are going to be more business to business and, automation where possible. But we have this consumer-facing product that sort of brought this to the forefront in the things like ChatGPT. When launched last year and all the excitement around it and kind of a year ago at this time, maybe a year and some change, it had almost like this beyond meat moment where like everyone was talking about it, everyone was giving it a try. But after that sort of initial attempt to take a look at it, is there still interest in the everyday person to use these products? Or is sort of this is a cool little chatbot thing, has that kind of fallen off now?
We did see things start to plateau a bit in terms of overall growth and people talking about, for example, GPT specifically. But with its new update that it put out, we saw a lot of resurgence in consumer interest. And we're also starting to see consumers who are talking about, interacting with AI technology through different delivery platforms. So whether that be, using a generative AI, tool in like a Duolingo to help learn a language or other things like that. We're starting to see things like that trickle through where it's not necessarily a consumer interacting directly with a chatbot with that ChatGPT AI, but maybe interacting with even Adobe's, AI image generator or some of the tools that company has been able to leverage thanks to this AI technology. So I think that is an area that we'll be watching just to see, who is leveraging and becoming the premier distribution channel for a lot of these AI technologies. And of course, all of this is going to be run on these chips, dependent on companies like NVIDIA, like AMD, and others in the space. So that's part of the reason why we are so bullish on this. And we do feel like we're still in the very early innings of companies being able to effectively utilize this to bring products to market to consumers so that they can effectively use this technology too.
Megan, you brought us a mentions count on AMD, and I'm looking the last 2 weeks or so, a really big spike in not only the stock price, but the mentions count as well. You see that spike there at the tail end of that. Do you have any reason why that is? Was it just news flow? Was it some of the new news headlines that we're seeing in AMD? Do you guys have a reason why that spiked so much?
Yeah, a lot of this is just chatter post-earnings, and some of this does have to do with partnerships that have recently come to light. Microsoft just announced that it will integrate its new chip into its Azure cloud, and so I think that this is just an example of companies that are, starting to come out and say, yes, we're leveraging and we're using AMD's technology. This isn't just a one-horse race in NVIDIA. And so this is something that we're watching because consumers are increasingly talking about AMD. We also see a lot of chatter related to its Ryzen lineup. And some of that could be more specific to, just regular consumers who are using this for gaming or for, high-power computing on their personal devices and things like that. So it's good to see AMD in headlines on the large scale, so for companies who are leveraging its technologies, but also just for consumers who are using its technologies and continuing to say they're having a good experience. One thing that's not on here is a happiness chart, and AMD actually leads other names in our universe, even in NVIDIA, though NVIDIA is much larger and has a much larger consumer mind share for sure. AMD's happiness level is actually about 3 points higher.
Megan, one last thing before we let you go. The whole AI experience is basically, it's going to get better as we get more data points, right? The more data we have, the more efficient, the more better. Do you see Likefolio? Are you guys just starting to get your data, and is it only going to grow? Do you feel over the future, Likefolio's data will become more granular and more full developed with AI?
Yeah, absolutely. We're identifying names all the time, trying to look for the pin action in AI because, like I said, it's not just NVIDIA and it's not even just AMD. There are a lot of other names in this sector that could benefit, and we're always looking for those tertiary winners. So, the next level, the next level benefiters of AI that are able to effectively leverage this and bring this tool to consumers and also improve their business overall. So we do expect a lot of new additions. So hopefully whenever you guys come talk to us in the future, we'll have more info to bring to you other than just AMD and NVIDIA for sure.
Megan, one thing too is I'm not sure if you look broadly at the kind of consumer response to this, if there's a happiness on AI in general, but I was thinking it might not even matter because unlike some of these other trends like metaverse or streaming or electric vehicles, the companies themselves can benefit from this technology. They don't necessarily need the consumer to. It'd be nice if they could have two products, but unlike the metaverse, you don't need someone to go in there. You just need AI to improve efficiency, learn things faster, potentially remove jobs. So does happiness on AI in general even really matter?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think that that's partially why it's almost multiplicative because you have the consumer side of things, but you have it producing higher sentiment levels, like you mentioned, in the products. And, we've even started to see this trickle through in earnings calls. If you listen to companies who are talking about leveraging AI in terms of cost-cutting measures and things like that. So this is an area that traditionally we don't have as much insight into, a company's profit margins and things like that. But now, especially companies who are talking about leveraging AI internally to improve their own business operations, that's another lever that we can look at to say, okay, we expect to see continued improvement here as well.
So to summarize, Megan, it's just beginning and it's only getting better.
Yes.
Megan Brantley, Vice President of Research for Likefolio.com. Thanks for coming on, spending your Friday with us, and bringing us the incredible Likefolio data. Have a great weekend, Megan.
Thanks, guys. You too.
All right, I want to take some time because I want to have an ARM